So ladies and gentlemen, a few things still bugging me, especially off the back of the last video that we done. Taking us back to the location scene again, where Brad and Brandon told Jay to turn his location on. See that part right there, turn your location on. If Jay would have had to have turned his location on when he spoke to Brad or Brandon, when he was off-road more or less, it means that Jay would have never have looked at Google Maps or iPhone Maps at the Airbnb or prior to any of those guys phoning him. So remember, Chris Tenerife and various others were basically saying that, oh no, Jay would have looked at his phone, used Google Maps. He would have seen through Google Maps that there's a calf, the Mirador calf at the viewpoint. He would have seen the trails through those Google Maps. And that's probably one of the reasons why Jay would have went that way. So they've basically made us believe that Jay went the way he did because he probably would have looked at Google Maps or iPhone Maps before he took that trip. But that doesn't make any sense if Brandon and Brad asked him to turn his location on. Because in order for Google Maps or iPhone Maps to identify where you're at, you're going to need to turn your location on, which means Jay would have had to have turned his location on before Brad and Brandon asked him to turn his location on. Then it brings you back to who actually asked Jay to turn his location on, and on what phone call did Jay turn his location on? Do you see the red flags? Do you see the problems that we are facing here, ladies and gentlemen? No one can give us a clear explanation as to why Jay went to the Airbnb, why Jay left the Airbnb, why Jay went the wrong way, and why Jay went off-road when he did. No one can give us a clear explanation as to why that happened. In fact, they were hoping that the fabricated footage that they put together, as well as Affilia's statement, along with Chris Tenerife and his side chick, they were going to paint the story for us. They were going to use all of that information to paint a story as to why Jay walked the wrong way and walked off road. The official narrative that was even sold to the Dutch team as they landed is that Jay was trying to head towards the sea. Who told us that Jay was trying to head towards the sea? Chris Tenerife and his side chick Sluggy. See, the only problem I'm struggling to understand with those two guys, why they haven't been shown any gratitude towards the work that they did in searching for Jay. You think about the process of elimination that Chris Tenerife went through. I mean, that was blood, sweat, and tears. Literally. We saw cuts from Chris. All that sweat when he was trying to get through all the bushes and everything else that comes with that ravine. The moment when he was sleeping on his backpack, the sweat that was pouring down his face. But we also saw the tears, didn't we, ladies and gentlemen? Every time Chris spoke about Jay, he couldn't stop himself from getting emotional. Teary-eyed. He more or less began to cry. This is a person who went out of their way to search for Jay and ultimately give the tip-off to the Guardia Civil as to where Jay's body was. Same guy that called Brad and Hero, the same guy that was buddying up with Abe online, same guy that sent those disturbing messages to Francesca about Johnny Vegas, same guy that sent those disturbing messages to Warren about me. Yeah, that guy, that same guy, not once throughout this whole entire case has been given any credit. He hasn't been shown any gratitude. It doesn't make any sense how this guy who went through blood, sweat, and tears for Jay Slater hasn't been shown any gratitude, any love, anything whatsoever. Nothing from the family, nothing in the inquest. There was nothing in regards to Chris Tenerife and his partner in crime, Sluggy the side chick. There's been nothing whatsoever mentioned about those two guys. Although Sluggy has been all over this ever since the Spanish authorities stopped the initial search. That's when Sluggy got involved. When it was said they're stopping their search because they didn't believe Jay was in that area. That was 2 days after Brad's interview and more or less around the same time where Chris Tenerife fully took charge of the search. That's when Sluggy the side chick got himself involved. And all of the work that they done in the ops room, everything that they done, none of it's been given credit. I haven't seen a thank you nowhere. I haven't seen nothing. The only thing that I've seen is a post from Chris Tenerife on Instagram. I'm just going to paraphrase here, but he says something along the lines of, this is what we done to search for a missing boy whilst others were online spreading conspiracies, more or less. That's what the message kind of implied. And there was only 2 people out of this case that liked that photo, Abe and Lucy. They're the only 2. First time I saw that post and I saw them liking that post, it made me feel like they liked it out of sense of relief, out of the fact that there is someone in their corner like Chris Tenerife who is more or less pushing this accident narrative. and really trying to drive this accident narrative. And they're happy, like Ayub and Lucy, they're happy to go ahead with it. They're happy to say, yep, whatever Chris says, we're going with. See, Lucy at one point wanted the UK police involved because she believed there was something dodgy about the two mystery men. And all of a sudden, we've got Ayub and Lucy both liking Chris Teneree's post about putting together this documentary to prove that it was just an accident. Oh, yes. Thank you, Chris. Thank you ever so much, Chris. That's the person right there, Chris Teneree and his side chick Sluggy, who's more or less come in and sold us that narrative of Jay looking at Google Maps on his phone and therefore following the road up to the Mirador because that's what his iPhone maps would have told him. They really tried to sell that to us. But how do they know that? They don't know that. And that couldn't have happened if Jay turned his location on when he spoke to Brad or Brandon. It doesn't make any sense. We'll shelve Brandon's statement for a minute because that one's confusing. It seems like Brandon was speaking to Jay whilst at the Airbnb all the way until Jay told him he's going off-road. That would have taken Jay about 40 minutes. But Brad tells us that he asked Jay to turn his location on when Jay was off-road, when Jay was in the mountains. So that right there defeats everything that Chris said about Jay using Google Maps or iPhone maps at the Airbnb or when he left the Airbnb. So again, explain why Jay would have walked the wrong way, especially when you stand outside the Airbnb and you can see how much civilization is going downhill. The moment you start walking uphill and you bust a corner, you're walking into nothing, seeing no one. Tell me why Jay would have continued to walk up that road. Or is my theory bang on the money when I say Jay was driven to that ravine? He was taken there, dead or alive. Either way, he was taken there. He never walked there. There is no way Jay left the Airbnb, walked the wrong way for 40 minutes to then walk off road. No way. I will never believe that in a million years. Warren Slater doesn't believe it. Debbie doesn't believe it. This is the reason why they want to know what happens. In the last video, I mentioned near the end that I wanted to touch on the DTR video where he claims to have found blood in the mountains. Now that right now, based on everything we know, is extremely crucial. We have to go back to that video and we have to look at it. We have to analyze it. We have to go over that video again to really see what DTR was seeing and re-listen to what he was saying in the video. But unfortunately, I don't have the video. I've been looking for that video everywhere. I don't know where it is. So I need your help, guys. Anyone that has the DTR video of him in the mountains where he found the blood and claimed it to be animal blood. I need someone to get their hands on that video and send it over to me as soon as possible. What we're going to touch on instead is extremely interesting because we're going to take it back to Jay in the back of the car. Ayub telling Mark Williams Thomas that he's got pictures of Jay in the back of the car smiling his face off. Well, one thing I want to ask at this point is how does Ayub, out of all the people involved, Lucy, Brandon, Brad, why is it that Ayub is the one that has pictures of Jay in the back of the car smiling his face off? Why does Ayub have those pictures? Is that because Ayub's the person that took the picture of Jay in the back of the car and then the AP message was then put across the picture? Because that's the only way that would make sense, which means Ayub was involved in fabricating that photo, right? How did Ayub take the photo? See, remember, Ayub didn't have a phone. What did he use to take that photo? Was it a phone? Was it a tablet? Either way, he would have needed a number for both of those devices, a phone or a tablet. So how did Ayub take that picture of Jay? Whose phone did he use? And the reason I say that is because he booked the Airbnb with his auntie's number. Why did he put his aunt's number on the Airbnb profile if he had a phone the whole entire time? Or if he had an iPad the whole entire time? Because again, both devices come with SIM cards, which means both devices have mobile numbers. So why the need to put your auntie's number on the Airbnb website? It just doesn't make any sense. You put your auntie's number on the Airbnb website, but you've got devices that include mobile numbers. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to use those devices. And you was able to take pictures of who? Jay in the back of the car smiling his face off. How? How is that possible? Did you use someone else's phone? How would that be possible? How could you use someone else's phone? It's only you, Rocky, and Jay in the car. And Rocky was sleeping the whole entire time. So it couldn't have been Rocky's phone. Whose phone was it then? Are we saying that they took the picture of Jay with Jay's phone? They done it with Jay's phone? The same way they recorded Ayub driving down the M-way with Jay's phone, which means they had Jay's phone the whole entire time. The reason why Jay's phone wasn't found with him. Again, even with the phone, we never really got clarity on where the phone was found, how the phone was found, if the phone was actually found with Jay. It's been said on multiple different occasions that the phone wasn't found with Jay. If the phone wasn't found with Jay and it wasn't found anywhere near where his body was found, tell me why Jay would have thrown or dropped a brand new phone that his mum only bought for him 2 months prior. People are going to straight away say, but Wax, Jay was incapacitated. Jay was intoxicated. Okay, this guy was intoxicated, but clearly at some point in the night, Jay would have written that he stole a watch. He knew how much the watch costs, and he knew how much he was going to sell that watch for. Someone who was incapacitated, someone that was intoxicated with drink and drugs would not be able to do that. More likely to phone their friends and tell their friends that they were involved in stealing some type of watch. But to film Ayub and then say stolen a Rolex for 12K and I'm going to sell it for 10,000, and then make a second version, change the word Rolex to AP and change one Somali kid to 2 Somali kids. This time we're going to take a picture from a certain angle of this person to make it look like Jay, or if it is Jay, it's a badly beaten Jay, so we need to take the picture from an angle to make the marks look unnoticeable. But it just doesn't make any sense how an incapacitated person would do such a thing. If that fight broke out and a watch got stolen, an incapacitated person wouldn't have even known that happened, let alone take a video, take a picture, and write a message. The second message has no typos, but this guy's meant to be incapacitated. He's compromised. He doesn't actually know what he's doing. In fact, he's potentially unconscious at this point. It's just another point to kind of look at, ladies and gentlemen, and kind of question, like, how did Ayub take that photo if he didn't have a phone? Whose phone did he use to take that photo with? Because it's starting to look like it was Jay's phone. I wouldn't be surprised, because a part of my theory is they had Jay's phone. Let's leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very quick one. I need to know exactly what you guys are thinking right about now. What Chris tells us about Jay looking at Google Maps or iPhone Maps whilst at the Airbnb or shortly after leaving the Airbnb, absolute BS, because Jay would have had to have had his location on at that point. But according to Brandon and according to Brad, they're the ones that told Jay to turn his location on. That eliminates the theory of Jay using Google Maps or iPhone Maps as a way of going the wrong way. Remember, that theory was given to us as an explanation as to why Jay went the wrong way instead of the right way. As I said, comment down below. Let me know exactly what you're thinking. Turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on future Jay Slater uploads. We've got more videos uploading as well, ladies and gentlemen, so don't go anywhere. I look forward to seeing you lot on the next one.